Hello and welcome to this episode of Business Basics. My name is Lee Iben. I'm the head business coach here at ActionCOACH campus, located right here in Johnson County. And every day I have the unique opportunity to visit with local business owners of all types, all shapes, all sizes of businesses. And today it's my extreme pleasure to visit with Lindsay. Lindsay owns Lindsay McGowan Photography. I like that. It's easy to find you on the internet that way, Lindsay. So
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Now, Lindsay, on your website, I love to do a little research before I start, and I see that you are the Press Citizen's Best of the Area for the past 5 years, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 2020. That's quite an accomplishment. That's great.
Yeah, it's humbling every time I see that email come through saying that I was voted best of the area again. Um, it warms my heart. It makes me feel like all of the hard work, all of the late nights, especially since that usually comes in the fall when I am in the midst of my crazy busy season and I'm pulling a lot of 3 a.m., 4 a.m. nights of editing. So it actually makes me feel like that hard work is for something purposeful. So.
And let's talk about that in just a second, because most folks don't realize the level of editing you have to do as a photographer to get that photo cropped and lit just right before the client sees it. But before we get there, let's talk about, as a business owner, let's talk about timing. Now, you're a mom, a busy mom, 3 kids, 2 of them are twins. And it's when you had your twins that you said, I think I'll start a business.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just,
What was
why not?
Well, and did you grow up in the North Liberty area? Are you from that area, or where are you from?
No, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs,
Okay.
for college, like,
Yep.
some people do,
Right.
and never had an intention of staying here. Always thought I'd go back.
Mhm.
Met my husband, and here I am
Yeah.
21 years later.
How about
Um,
that?
Yeah, and I love it. I love living in a college town. I love this community. I love the people. I love the diversity and just everything that I want in terms of growing my business is right here at my fingertips. And that to me is amazing. And so I studied psychology and business, not art, not photography, nothing in the field that I am growing my business in. And the background that I had just kind of was a catalyst to give me that little push to say, you know what, maybe I can do this. So
Yeah.
I did, and I'm going to be celebrating 10 years.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's great. That you didn't come from an art background,
Right.
but you love photography, and so
Yeah.
you pursued a passion that you had,
Yeah.
and just kind of took it from there. So when you started out, so the kids were little, and you started things out. How did you start to develop your market, your clientele?
So I think in photography in general, and then especially in this community, word of mouth is my most beneficial form of advertising.
Hmm.
So that was really the how everything started. Was I started taking pictures for my friends. At that point 10 years ago, Facebook was kind of new. There was no Instagram. We didn't have Facebook Marketplace and business pages and all that kind of stuff. And so it was things like Craigslist and just a small little post on Craigslist. And I started getting some people coming to me, and within a couple of months, it was fall, when that's the typical busy season for photographers,
Okay.
and my schedule started filling up. And once I started doing that, and eventually started a business page on Facebook, friends and clients would post their pictures and tag me, tag my business, and it just kind of went from there. So that was really my biggest form of advertising for the first several years.
Right. And that's since you're able to work that around your family's schedule mostly,
Yeah.
which is important to do. It might have started off as a side hustle, but it's really grown to much more than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I worked in the corporate world before I had my kids, and I mean, I work way more now than I ever did in that life. Um, it is nice. I can make my own hours. I can work from my couch with my kids there with me.
Yes.
But yeah, in terms of the amount of work and the time and the hours that I put in, it's a lot. But
Oh yeah.
I love it. So I really feel like when you're doing what you love, it feels fulfilling. So
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm working.
Right. When you're following your passion, everything you're
Exactly.
doing is fun. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
you put in long
I have to
hours.
do my taxes, unless I'm going to my tax appointment, and then that's when it's not so fun.
That's so much fun. That's right. I mean, how much money? Doggone it.
Right. Oh man. Yeah.
That's it. I need to buy a new camera. That's what I need. I better get a write off.
Right. Exactly. What else can I buy?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And now, I mean, okay, so
Yeah.
how photography has changed. When I started in photography, I had a miniature dark room in my basement. Okay, and I mean chemicals, and then I really kind of let it set by the wayside because when we started having kids, I didn't want those chemicals in the house with little kids.
Right.
So I kind of put it off to the side for a little bit, and then um, it really wasn't until the advent of digital photography that I was able to really pick it back up again safely within my home.
Right.
And I trained myself on Photoshop and other Adobe products to use those. But so let's talk about the business of photography, because it is a whole lot more than just showing up and taking a photograph. And you had to learn all that on the fly because you didn't come into it the way a lot of photographers do anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So how did that
Yeah.
process work for you?
I mean, I wasn't trained in film photography at all. It's something that I would love to learn eventually, just to
No, you don't.
know.
No,
Um,
no, no, you don't. No.
I have visions of my retirement going to, beaches and landscaping or gorgeous landscapes and using film photography. But at this point, obviously digital is the way to go for the business that I do. But yeah, I'm self-taught. And so it was a lot of learning on the fly, like you said. And what people don't realize is Adobe products in general are not self-explanatory at
Mm-mm,
all.
mm-mm.
So it is a lot of trial and error. It is a lot of watching videos and tutorials and actually reading the manuals of things like your camera, and um, a lot of behind the scenes that goes into creating a gallery for my clients. And so, the hour I spend taking the pictures is just a very small fraction of time in terms of the work that is put in. And so I tend to overshoot, which means that I tend to give a very large gallery. And I'm not the photographer that does in-person sales and tries to sell just individual prints of just a little portion of the session. I really like to give a full story in the gallery. As a mom, I know what little faces and expressions and moments, and if a mom is holding her toddler and he has his arms around her neck and has that little grasp of hair behind, those are the things that you're going to want to remember.
Right.
And so I like to give all of those images in a gallery, which means that on my end, on the back end, it's that much more time editing, because I do hand edit every single image that I
Oh
end
yeah.
up putting in a gallery. So kind of that type A perfectionism that I've always had, filters into my work, which means that it just makes more work for me. But in the finished product, I can hopefully give something that somebody loves, and it's, something that can't be replaced. And that's the best, payment that I can receive, really.
Well, and that's the thing is that you do shoot a lot. When I was shooting high school sports, I would at a typical football game, I would shoot over 1,000 photographs, and I
Right.
would go through each and every one of them
Yeah.
and pick out the best ones and then edit them. Right? You go through, it's like nope, nope, nope. Oh, wait a minute, and then look at the series. No, no, that's the one I want, and then you kind of tag that one and come back to it later. But it takes hours,
Hours.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
The famous business writer, Jim Rohn, said, "Don't wish that life were easier, wish that you were better." And the amount of time you put into yourself, looking at those YouTube videos, doing those tutorials, looking at the types of filters that you can add into your Photoshop workflow. And all of that is all outside of shooting, client
Right.
interaction, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Learning time management um, and work-life balance is probably one of the biggest challenges that I've had in running a business. And I know that I'm not alone in that. There are many business owners and, just professionals, working parents in general that struggle with that. But it's hard when I don't have an office that I go to and then come home and I can, turn off work mode. My office is my couch. And
Right.
so, it's hard for me to turn off that work mode and not be on my computer when I know I have work to do. So
Mm-hmm.
that has been probably the biggest struggle that I've had in my business over the past years. And moving on to, now during COVID, my kids are home all of the time.
Right.
And so, they're doing virtual school. And so trying to figure out how to balance running a business from home
Mm-hmm.
while having my kids home and doing virtual school, it has definitely added a giant level of just challenge, really.
Sure. Have you seen a big impact with COVID-19 on your business this year?
In the beginning, there was, everything kind of shut down. And so the studio space, I just celebrated 1 year in a studio space that I have actually in Oxford.
Oh, good.
Super cute. It's downtown, old historic building,
Mm-hmm.
giant floor to ceiling windows, super rustic floors, like totally my jam.
Yeah.
Um, and so, there was a giant chunk of this year where that went unused because being indoors with other people that don't live in your house was just not acceptable. Thankfully, we had a pretty nice spring, summer, and fall. And so those sessions felt normal. In the beginning, I was one of the photographers that decided to do the porch sessions, the front porch sessions, which were awesome. I originally started with a sign up of doing 40, and I think I ended up doing about 300.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so they became very popular. I donated a large portion of the proceeds to the local food pantries, which was awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
those were, um, that was very needed, definitely.
Yeah. Right.
And honestly, getting out of the house and being able to go and see people, even if it was for just 3 minutes from a distance, just was good for the soul. And
Oh, yeah.
I heard time after time after time from the clients that it felt so good to have something to look forward to. It felt so good to put on makeup or put on real clothes, or the people who said, you know what, like this is us during pandemic, and they came out in their
Right.
pajamas,
Yeah.
and that was fun too. Like it was an opportunity for people to make a choice of like, this is how I want to remember this time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was definitely unique to this year. I don't know that anything like that'll ever happen again, but it was an awesome memory and it's something that I'm going to cherish. So yes, I mean, definitely my business has been impacted. But overall, it felt pretty normal until about a month ago when I actually got COVID myself.
Oh,
And then that put a giant halt to business and really had to kind of figure out how to do this. So, when you're a one woman show and I can't put my work onto anybody else, it makes it tricky.
yeah. So you've been a one-person staff the entire time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure if you had a whole team. You see all the Hollywood photos of the whole video team, right? 30 people all making things happen. And I thought that might be you, but it's
Oh,
you.
heard people say before, like, oh, you should hire somebody to be your assistant or answer emails or whatever. But I just am too controlling. I can't do that. I need to
Well,
just do it myself. And when you have a brand and you have a style with something so personal as
mhm.
photography and editing, if it's not me, it's not my pictures, and I can't put my name on that. So
Right, right. Well, that's wonderful. All right. So you've been doing this 10 years now, right?
yeah,
10 years? Yeah. And
yes,
so someone who's looking to start their own business, we talked about timing and you're just like, I got twins at home. I'm going to start a business. Um, what's your biggest nugget, your biggest learning over the past 10 years that you would pass on to somebody else as far as business advice?
oh goodness. I would say the biggest thing is realizing that in this community, word of mouth is going to make or break your business.
Yeah.
So, doing everything you can to adapt.
Mhm.
You go in with a vision of what you want to do, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And, knowing that you might need to change your model a little bit based on the response. So just listening to people,
Mhm.
seeing what works, and just being flexible, being able to adapt to the community, I think is going to be the biggest thing to either make or break your business, especially in the beginning.
I agree. I mean, you got to protect your brand. You are your
Yeah.
brand.
Right.
I mean, regardless of if you're shooting or not, even if you're at the grocery store, you have to protect your
Right.
brand, you know,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
because people
Yeah. And
know
I've been
you.
years. Yeah. So I go, anywhere and most likely will see a client. And so knowing that who you are is a reflection of your business,
Mhm.
and trying to protect that image in a way, but being authentic too. I mean, come on,
Mhm.
I'm a mom. There's sometimes I'm going to be at Hy-Vee in a top knot and sweats, and I'll see a client and they're okay with that. So,
Yeah. Or the
I
kid.
mean, yeah,
Right.
or the kids are being crazy at the park or like whatever. I mean, being authentic, because that also attracts people, and knowing that you're relatable. So,
Yes.
but I mean, honestly though, listening, just being a good listener, and realizing what people want and what people are looking for, and just trying to adapt yourself to meet those needs,
Hmm.
in a growing community, in a changing community. I mean, um, we're so lucky to be in a place where people are coming and going, and so there's a constant influx of new people with the hospital and the university, and um, that really does increase the word of mouth capability. If you get in with some people who are in the residency program at the university, and those people continue the residency and then move on to somewhere else, new people come in and your name gets moved on to those people.
Right.
And so, really creating a brand that is strong, that people trust, is going to help be successful.
Right. Do you specialize in any area specifically? I mean, families, kids, or you got like, portrait photography? What do you really enjoy doing the most? And I mean, I'm sure you do a lot of everything, but
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I only shoot what I love. So,
yeah, there you
um,
go.
weddings aren't my jam. I've done a couple here and there, but I would rather be a guest and drink wine at a wedding than be at work. So,
Right.
um, so I leave the weddings to the people that love those, and I prefer the families and kids, newborns. I do some high school seniors. I do about 10 to 15 per year. Um, just kind of fun and a little bit different. I've done different things, like some corporate things. I've got a couple corporate clients that I do all the pictures for their websites, and I love that, being creative in a different way. But the bulk of my business is families, kids, and newborns, and that is what I truly love the most: being wacky and crazy and saying funny things and chasing toddlers and snuggling newborns. That's my jam.
That's a lot of fun, and that's an important takeaway lesson too, because when you go into a business for the first time, you think you have to take every job that comes your way, and you really don't.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love
I
that.
mean, it took me years to realize that, like to learn to say no gracefully is really hard.
Hmm.
Because when you are relying on other people to provide your income, um, you know, knowing what your strong point is and saying, you know what, that might not be this might not be the best fit and this might be a better person to help you with this, is a hard thing to have to do. But realizing that, I feel like does it just strengthens, it just strengthens the brand a little bit. And um I don't know, just helps with that trustability.
Well, it does, but you also want to be successful. You want your work that you portray to be successful, and so I imagine you have a vetting process that you go through, an interview process before you take on a new client to kind of hear what they want, and then that's when you can make that decision. Yeah, I'm your person, or let's maybe send that over to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, most of the clients that I get now, I mean, they know my work, they've seen it on Facebook, and so um, at this point, I would say anybody that contacts me, knows what I provide and knows that we're going to be on the same page.
Yeah.
I do still get a couple of inquiries here and there for weddings and things like that, and then I have a list of photographers that I think are great for that, and I'll pass that along. But
Yeah.
most of the people that come through to me know somebody else that I've done their pictures or has seen my work on Facebook or whatever, and they already know that we're a good fit. So
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing your time with us today. I really appreciate it.
yeah, thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, it's been great to get to know you. So, Lindsay McGowan Photography online, North Liberty, Iowa. Look her up, especially if you got kiddo shots, because they're the most fun anyway. you, you never
Yeah,
know
yeah.
quite how that photo is going to end up. That's for sure.
Oh, I mean, it's so much fun. I love working with kids and then going through the culling process and seeing all the outtakes. And I give so many of those in a gallery because as a mom and knowing, I mean, my kids are now growing. They're 13 and my or almost 13 and my twins just turned 10, and knowing how quickly that happens and seeing all these little moments, like I love being able to give that in a gallery and people look back and remember those little moments, even if it's those moments that make you want to rip your hair out. Eventually, you're going to cherish that time. So,
So true.
yeah, and I'm booking for 2021. Um, I my fall books up really fast, so I already have a lot of clients that I have every year around the same time, and they're already booked for fall sessions. And yeah, so I'm ready to
Good.
branch to 2021. Hopefully it's better for everybody.
Well,
And
it won't be the same as 2020. We know that. That's good.
I mean, yeah, I'm ready for a change for sure.
We all are. All right, don't go away. Hang on a second. So my guest
Okay.
today, of course, Lindsay McGowan Photography up in North Liberty, Iowa. She is booking for 2021. So please reach out via either Facebook, or you can certainly go online or send her an email as well, and she will get right back to you. Thank you, Lindsay, so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You bet.